but she picked up her fork, twisting it in her hand. He wants me to come home. Home? Montana. Where is Montana exactly? Carson rolled her eyes. I'm kidding, of course, Rebecca said. It's somewhere north, I know that. Cows and snow? Carson nodded. Mountains, forests, huge ranches, lush green valleys. My family has a ranch there. She sighed, picturing the ranch in the summertime. The bright green meadow against the blue sky almost too beautiful to absorb. How many days did she ride off and lay down on the carpet of green, staring up into the endless blue, thinking there was no better place on earth than right there where she was. And for a while that was true. And why does he want you there? My father is dying. And she has a father, too. Look, I know I haven't told you much about my past. Much? Try nothing. Rebecca pushed her salad aside. When I met you, you were a wide-eyed 19-year-old lost in Manhattan. All you told me was you'd run away from home, she shrugged. Nothing unusual there, except you had a never-ending supply of cash. It took me 2 years to learn your grandmother was loaded. Now, after knowing you, 11 years now? You tell me your estranged family wants you to come home, to Montana. She raised her eyebrows. So, are you going to tell me about it, or what? Carson looked at her affectionately. The woman who'd befriended her all those years ago. Yes, she'd been wide-eyed and scared out of her mind. She didn't recall what had possessed her to flee to New York. She only knew she wanted to be far away from home and far away from her memories. When her grandmother died, Grammy May, she was as surprised as everyone else to learn she'd left her entire estate to Carson. The explanation the attorney gave her was that the ranch would be left to the boys, assuming Carson's father would exclude her from that inheritance. Carson had dropped out of college the next week, leaving Boulder and moving into her grandmother's house in Denver, waiting for it to sell. And it moved so quickly she hadn't had time to formulate a plan. No time to decide what to do or where to go. Why not New York? Why didn't you ever try to sleep with me? Rebecca leaned back, surprise showing on her face. Where did that question come from? I thought we were talking about your family. It occurred to me that you never once even hinted that you wanted to sleep with me, yet you had a parade of women coming and going, but never me. Rebecca reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Oh, my beautiful Carson. You were 19. I was already 35. Yes, it would have been so easy to seduce you. And I won't lie, the thought did cross my mind. She smiled. But I didn't want to do that to you. You needed a friend. She waved her hand dismissively. Besides, I taught you everything you know. Yes, how not to fall in love. Love is so overrated. It's a pain in the ass. Isn't it much more fun to enjoy sex and not to have to worry about the emotional turmoil that comes with a relationship? I never understood that about you, Carson said. You could have had any woman you wanted. I did have. Many of them. I meant have as in love, she clarified. Yet you never wanted any part of it. Why? We all have our secrets, don't we? And I believe we were discussing yours, not mine. Carson let it go. At first, she was simply overwhelmed by the number of women Rebecca would bring home, a different one nearly every night. And she took it all in, learning Rebecca's skill of sex without love. Yes, she taught her well. Fortunately, she had enough emotional scars that it didn't take much to dull her to love. No doubt Rebecca had been deeply in love once and had her heart broken. Carson, on the other hand, couldn't relate to that part of things. Her small high school out in the middle of nowhere consisted mostly of kids from other ranches, mostly boys, and the few girls her own age were straight. Of course, as a teenager with raging hormones, she couldn't be choosy. She found if she kept it quiet and under the table, straight girls were more than willing to experiment. It wasn't until she'd gone to college that she finally slept with another lesbian. Once in New York, she quickly picked up the social skills required to mimic Rebecca, the woman who took her in and offered a place to live. She wouldn't admit it to her, but she'd long grown weary of that life now. She often exaggerated her sexual trysts just to keep Rebecca amused and thinking that she'd raised a star pupil who followed in her footsteps. She couldn't very well tell her that she spent most of her time alone on her frequent trips to Europe. It was simply too exhausting to keep the pace that Rebecca assumed she kept. All of which made her question why